Hey there, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Our Station One podcast. That's right, folks. We are back. And yes, we survived the party after the 700th episode. And boy, was it a great one. It's pretty awesome to follow up episode 700 with another awesome topic. We are talking about the Muppets Mayhem. That's right, bros. We're here to talk all about it. So it should be very cool to do it and talk about Dr. Teeth, Animal, Floyd, Lips, and of course Janice and the many other Zoots that we had. You know, I think we all need to take Polaroid pictures for this one and just have tons of fun with it. It's going to be a great episode. Got a great crew to talk all about it. Of course, Mr. Mike Gordon is here.
Howdy.
You survived the party last week, Mr.
Man, it was rough. That got crazy pants.
Of course. The Electric Mayhem showed up, of course.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah, that was understood. But I mean, yeah, it was insane. But I'm recovered, I think.
That is awesome. That is awesome. It was a ton of fun. And man, once I started watching this episode, it was the series, it was just like, we've got to do an episode on this. We've got to do an episode. And when I posted, like when we said, you know, Judy and I are watching Muppets Mayhem, we had like 2 zillion people say, if you got to do an episode of ESO about this, you got to do one. And one of the first people to actually instant message me on it was Charles. And, you know, he was just like, if you're doing an episode on it, Veronica and I want to be on it. Welcome, guys. It is awesome to have Veronica and Chuck back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
When I think of puppets, you guys come to mind, so it's pretty darn amazing. So
yeah,
so that is awesome. Great to have you here, and of course, returning after a long time, Mr. Alex Autrey is back.
It's great to be back, man.
It is awesome to have you, sir. You've been missed.
Thanks.
And you know he's been busy improving around the world. You know he's a jet setter now, so it's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I've been as far as Chattanooga.
Ooh. Well, we've seen that the Electric Mayhem with their transportation doesn't get much further either. So this is going to be an awesome one, and we definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. Please, feedback at ourstation1.com is always the best way to get in touch with us. Or if you're on YouTube, of course, we love you guys. Please rate and subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And also click on the star at the top, you know, that way you guys know if you guys want to follow us and such. We've put out 2 episodes a week now, so please, definitely, you know, it's pretty darn awesome what we're doing, and we're having a ton of fun with it. And you know what? It's time to get crazy with the Mayhem. Mr. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, the Mayhem have been around since 1975. They made their debut with the Muppets on the actual pilot episode of the Muppet Show, so they've been around since day one. This is the first time they've really been in the spotlight. They've kind of always been there, but in the background, and you know, some of the characters have gotten a little bit more prominent roles than others, particularly Animal, I think. But this is the first time that this is a series devoted to them as a band. This was announced by the folks at Disney Plus in February of last year, 2022. That was last year, right? Yes. Okay. Yes. I just want to make sure. And Alex, we'll start with you. What did you think of when you heard the announcement?
It was interesting for me because I've always loved the Muppets. I grew up with the Muppets. I am a very manly Muppet. So I haven't really connected much with what Disney, especially Disney Plus, has gotten to do with the Muppets. Muppet Haunted Mansion I thought was really solid and a lot of fun. But their little like YouTube shorts clips show, Muppets Now, I really felt like it was missing something from it. So to hear they were doing this one, I was like, ooh, I don't know if you can do a whole thing with the Mayhem, because they're kind of a one-note joke. And hey, but in the end, what we got was, you know, a really solid 10-episode story arc.
What about you guys, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm excited anytime they announce a new Muppet thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they announce those often enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thrilled, especially now with Disney Plus being sort of all in on their IPs. at what the potential could be. I mean, it's exciting enough to have the Electric Mayhem characters. I've always loved the idea of taking some of the second, third tier Muppets and bringing them to the spotlight, not having them stand behind Kermit and Gonzo and Fozzie,
Right.
and have little bits, but focus on them and flesh out the other characters. There's a million of them. But with now what they're doing with Disney Plus, what we're doing with Star Wars, they're doing with Marvel, where you can take these different things, and there could potentially be this could potentially be the first of many of these types of series that take a Muppet that you wouldn't think of as one of the star Muppets and bringing to the spotlight and focusing on them. So I was really excited about the prospects of what that could bring.
Mm-hmm.
I was also really excited because of the whole angle that they were doing with making an album.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we're going to actually have an album at the same time. And
after 50 years.
Yeah. And band documentaries have been a really big thing recently, which they also spoofed in this. But but I was really excited. And I've always liked the Electric Mayhem. And I'm glad we got a lot more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what about you? What did you think when you first heard the announcement?
I couldn't have been more excited. I was thrilled. I've been an Electric Mayhem fan since the Muppet Show, way back when. It was always great because they were the rockers. They were the backing band originally, but then they came out as Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and they spawn off on it. And in a lot of ways, I liked watching them more than the actual Muppet shows. Like Fuzzy and Kermit and, such. And you had different members. You even had Rolf as a member at one point. And so it was interesting to see. And growing up the way I grew up with a hippie family and everything, it felt like I was at home watching them. And so I've always been attached to them. And then the Muppet movie just cemented that with Can You Picture That? The whole thing at the church. And it was just awesome. And to this day, that's one of my favorite songs. And it's pretty, I have it it's on heavy rotation, moving right along. And then also Can You Picture That? Are the two songs from the Muppet movie. Judy would slap me if I told her that Rainbow Connection wasn't on there, but it's but neither there or here. But over the last 15 years, the Muppets have also been doing videos. They've done Bohemian Rhapsody or Jungle Boogie or Lime in a Coconut, and all these different ones featuring the Electric Mayhem. And they introduced Lips during that period of it, and it was just real interesting to see that they were carrying these characters on. And then when they announced that they were doing a whole series based off it, and a bit based on that, they're finally releasing an Electric Mayhem album, and that was the running joke through it. And it's like I was in. There was no way I was going to miss this one, and it was totally worth it.
Just point of clarification, and I know it feels this way because I've heard a lot of people say this, that Lips is pretty much a new member, but he's not. He's been there since day one. He's been there since the band debuted in '75. He kind of took a back seat in the Muppet Show because he was in the orchestra. Not so much the band. And then during the movie period, I believe he was kind of not there. And then he popped up again. Was it the Muppets movie? Not the Muppets movie, but the movie called The Muppets.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he made his kind of return to the band. And then he was on Muppets Tonight and as part of the house band that Miss Piggy had. And so, yeah, I mean, Lips has been there, but he's probably the one that people know the least.
Yeah, well,
because
correction, Lips actually debuted in season 5 of the Muppet Show. It was a character that they debuted for Steve Whitmire to play, and so he was a late addition during the Muppet Show era. But I mean, that's 1980 to now versus 1975 to now, so it's relatively early.
Those oranges, bananas. Come on, folks.
And he's a complete and total rebuild because the original Lips they finished using, I believe, for the movie The Muppets. And right at the end of it, the trumpet went through the mouth completely. So they had to completely rebuild him. But I loved the fact that they gave a character to Steve. Whitmire. He's an amazing guy, and
he was the most understandable person on the show. So.
Yeah, he was different performer, but yes, yeah.
I think it's amazing that I know I'll get to mine in a minute, but I know it's amazing on that note that the only one that's still performed by the same person is Zoot.
Yep.
I mean, Zoot was there from day one, and he's still Zoot. I'm like, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
The Dave Grohl, is that right?
Yeah, he plays Gonzo as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does he really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm
surprised you could not hear that. Like, every time he talks, I'm like, that's Gonzo. What's going on?
Yeah, Gonzo is his claim to fame, but yeah, he's been playing Zoot this whole time too, which is amazing. I mean, that's an amazing run for any job, much less
a lot of them play multiple characters, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
A lot of the puppeteers play multiple characters.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah, of course. So I've been a fan of the Mayhem since I watched the Muppets. I loved just the look of the band, the references to other bands that come up with. You see Dr. Teeth, and when you see Floyd, and when you see Janice, you get all these, like, it's weird. They're composites. Right, thank you. Of real, like, musicians all put together, and yet they fit really well together. But the big standout for me was always Animal. I loved Animal a lot. In fact, I believe you can see that Animal puppet that I have right there. That's I've had that for over 40 years.
Wow.
Cool.
And I made, when I was younger, I made a short featuring him attacking people called Day of the Animal. But nobody's allowed to see it because of Disney will get right on me if I do that.
Yeah, they will.
Oh yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm kind of worried about having him right there. So we might get sued, Mike. Sorry.
Won't be the first time.
And Muppets, the Great Muppet Caper, Animal like steals the show in that one, I think. And so to me, Animal was like the real standout. But I've always appreciated the rest of the band. And although when I heard they were getting their own show, around the same time, I actually met somebody. Not going to say who it was, but I met somebody who has worked for Disney in a capacity with the Muppets, and he was not excited at all.
Oh,
as a matter of fact, he was really thinking that the franchise was not going to be in good hands. Maybe he was just disgruntled because he was no longer part of it. But in any case, it made me kind of worry that this was not going to be good. And I hadn't watched the Muppets Now. I had seen Muppets Night. That's the last thing, and as well as the most recent movies. Those are the last things I kind of really have seen with the Muppets on them. So I wasn't sure what this was going to be like. But when Mike posted that he saw it and he loved it, and I saw some other people posting that they really liked it too, I was like, all right. So, and it was pretty quick. Like when Mike said he loved it, like the next thing he said was like, he sent me a message, like I think 5 minutes after that, said, we're doing a show on it. So I'm like, oh, I guess I better and I was really surprised too, because they dumped all 10 episodes at the same time. And usually Disney does not do that.
Right. I was really surprised that they did that, especially for a kids type show.
I did love Muppet Haunted Mansion. I think that's one of the best things of the Muppets I've ever seen. And one of the things I appreciated about that is that it didn't star the main cast of the Muppets that you normally think of. Piggy and Kermit and Fozzie were there, but they weren't like the main part of that movie. It was Rizzo and
Gonzo.
Yes. No.
Yeah,
It wasn't. It was Gonzo and Pepe.
Yes.
Pepe, who's one of my favorite, and I can't believe I couldn't remember his name, because Pepe's like my favorite Muppet to come out of Muppets Tonight. No, the Muppets.
Yes, it was Muppets Tonight. The other show that you're talking about with the Up Late with Miss Piggy was just called
The Muppets. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Oh man, it gets so confusing.
Yeah.
So anyway, watch the series, and within the first 15 minutes, I was hooked. It's smart. It throws so many references in there.
You
And
can't even keep up.
no. And
I've had to
the
watch it twice already. So
and the characters sound great as far as their voices. No, even though most of them are not the same voices that they were in the movies and in the original series and all that, I'm not taken out of it. Like a lot of times, even now when I hear Kermit, sometimes I'm like, that's not Kermit, right? And it sucks because I know it can never be Jim Henson again.
Right.
And I know that Miss Piggy can never be played by Frank Oz again, or will never be played by Frank Oz again. So, they have to have different voices, but yet it just still takes me out of it. But in this show, it did not. And it was a lot of fun. The one thing I was really surprised by was that there were, in addition to all the fun moments and the references and the Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff, what I didn't expect was that there were going to be real moments that really kind of got to me as far as like pulling my heartstrings.
Right.
We find out more about these characters than I think we ever have for any other Muppets, as far as some of their backstories. And the way that plays out during the season, I really thought it was effective. Was there any particular... Well, before we get to that, now we've talked about the Muppets a lot. What do you think?
One thing real quick about
because
you said you met somebody who was not happy with it or wasn't happy that they were doing it.
Yes.
I met somebody who was upset because it says this just throws the continuity of Muppet Babies right out the window.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's crazy. Now, I will say that I have not talked to that person since the show has aired. So he might think completely differently about it now that it's aired. This is all thoughts that he had about it before it was actually produced. So that said, but let's talk. We're going to talk about all the Muppets, I'm sure, my characters in detail. But I want to hear, Alex. We'll start with you. What do you feel about the human characters that are through this series?
So, 4 basic humans. In the show, you've got this is a good time for me to blank on names.
Nora.
Nora.
You've got Nora, you've got her sister Hannah, you've got Moog, and you've got JJ.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things in any Muppet feature is to even attempt to do character work with the humans. And I think one of the successes of the Muppet Show was that there was craziness going on and you felt like you were a part of it because you were seeing the reaction that was taking place with the human. The John Cleese episode, where he's just getting exasperated more and more throughout is one of my all-time favorites. I don't feel like they got as much as they could have out of the human characters. I loved Taj Mowry. I thought he was great in his role, because we've all been a super fan of something. And he comes up and you're like, I know that move. I've been that guy. And so you have those moments. I don't think they dug enough into Nora personally.
Nora.
Yeah, there's a lot we still don't know about her and her backstory. And yeah, I mean, I kind of along the same lines. I kind of feel bad for some of the human characters along the way in the movies and whatnot. Unless it's a all-star like a celebrity cameo, those are usually fun.
Right.
But if you're talking about the regular cast members that are interacting with them, usually I forget about them. Like when I think about the Muppet movie, Great Muppet Caper, et cetera, I don't even recall who some of the characters were throughout that, because they have to play the straight man, right? They have to play the one that's like, because all Nora really does for 10 episodes is like, hey guys, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Like, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. Oh, gee. Like she's just playing the straight man.
Band up.
And
very tough.
And Lily Singh is actually very, very funny. And
did not know who she
very
was
talented.
before this.
Yeah.
I've never heard of her before.
Yeah, I never heard of her before. So, and that goes for the rest of the humans. I did not know who any of them were before. But I will say the sister, Sarah, who played Sarah Schauder, who played Hannah, really grew on me. At first, I didn't like her at all, but by the end, I'm like, man, she's really good.
I don't think you were supposed to like her at the beginning. That's
No,
the
I
thing.
mean, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like the performance, but
Okay.
but
my sister was genuinely, she called me up after watching episode 1 and go, I don't believe the Hannah character. And I'm like, why? And she said, because if you were a social media influencer and you had the Electric Mayhem in your house,
You would not be freaking out.
you would not be freaking. You would be
Not in
freaking
that
out
way.
in a totally different way. You
Yes.
would be absolutely recording it. You would be getting everything.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, fair point. Fair point. Chuck and Veronica, what about you? What did you think about, like, because I would imagine, I don't know how much experience you have with humans working with the puppets, but I imagine it's kind of a difficult thing to pull off.
Mhm. We do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like half the shows we do is Veronica interacting with the puppets.
Yeah.
What do you want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, like me interacting with the puppets is very comfortable for me because they're just other characters and other actors on the stage with me is always how I've seen it.
Mhm.
I know some other people, when they've talked about working with the Muppets, it took them a while to get that that's what they have to do, is this is another actor on the stage with you, even though there's someone else under this actor with their hand up them.
Ignore
Sometimes like 12 people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me personally, as a performer with puppets, it was very natural, and I feel like that a lot of the times it's really unfortunate that they always have to play the straight person. And I wish there was more of them also being overly dramatic and goofy.
Like Tim Curry.
Yes.
Because Tim Curry wasn't the straight man.
No.
Tim Curry was a Muppet.
Yes.
Yes.
The same
There's-
can actually be
there's two
said
directions.
with Jason Segel too.
Mm.
Siegel's
Yeah.
performance was very much,
Mhm.
I'm part of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas you turn around and you get a Michael Caine,
Mhm.
Caine,
Right.
because my brain was trying to say Keaton, and I'm like, I know that's not right. Michael Caine said, I'm doing this as if the Muppets were the Royal Shakespearean Theater.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
and,
sure.
and that's why it works so well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, you either have to be one of them or pretend they're one of you, and there's no middle ground. A lot of people tend to stick to the more middle ground, I think, and I think there was more middle ground in this than I would have liked.
Yeah, I thought the actors were all good. I thought the
Yes.
characters were charming. I
Yes.
enjoyed watching them. My personal preference is for the protagonist of a Muppet series to be a Muppet, which it doesn't have to be. Obviously, like I said, Michael Caine was the protagonist of A Christmas Carol as Ebenezer Scrooge, and he was sort of, the Muppets were around him, and that's
Right.
kind of how Lily is. I mean, Lily is basically the Kermit of this season, where we're seeing the show through her eyes, and she's the one trying to wrangle the madness of the Muppets, which is
point.
a role that Kermit was in historically. And I mean, I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way, but I thought that she did a good job with what she had to do.
Mhm.
I would love to have seen more of the world through like Dr. Teeth's eyes or through Floyd's eyes. If one of them had come to like the realization that, wow, we've been at this 45 years, we've never even recorded an album. Can I wrangle this? And, I actually have a regret rather than, I'll be in the hot tub. You know what I mean? Which I thought was funny, but
It's another Mai Tai.
Right.
where did the Mai Tais come from?
Mhm.
Right.
Magic.
Yeah, but I thought the human actors were very good. I liked them.
Awesome.
Yes.
But
Yes.
my personal preference would be for the Muppet to see the world through the Muppet's eyes.
Gotcha. Mike, any thoughts on the humans?
I liked most of the humans. You were very, cautious about JJ. What, was he going to turn out to be the big bad in this? And he didn't, and everything. There were times when I felt like he was the one trying to force the band apart or such, but he was doing it all to be with Nora. And it was real interesting. And he came off as kind of skeezy and everything, but I liked most of the characters. Hannah at first was, somebody I, wouldn't even associate with, because
Yeah, she's not our type of person.
no, exactly. She is not.
She has followers.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's popular. That's why we don't like her. And the thing is, it was really awesome that, the characters grew through the story, though. Each one of them did. And that's what I loved. Even the mayhem grew in this.
Mhm.
And that's what the show was great about. The humans grew. And, like Moog, I know tons of people who follow the Dead or follow Fish or follow other bands who are so Moog. You could, oh, in that show, that was, so-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, when Davy Jones did this and Mike Nesmith was like doing that, I'm looking at you, felt nerdy people.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And it's pretty cool, though, that, and I admire those kind of people that they have. That's their passion. That's, what they geek out about. And it was pretty awesome to see. I think, truthfully, the weakest character for me in this whole thing, I probably want to say, was the owner of the record company.
Really?
Yeah. And
I loved Penny.
She was hilarious.
That's the thing. I liked her. I thought it was funny. And I loved how, her and Dr. Teeth's relationship built and built and built. But I thought, if that's the weakest character, this is a frippin' strong show.
Sure.
And that's what I was trying to go with.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was pretty awesome with.
In improv terms, the Penny character is what's called a pirate, because they just appear on stage and they do something wild that you're not prepared for and then disappear. And that is absolutely what Penny is. Although I'm fairly certain that we're going to see an increase in sales for compression socks.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
No.
Specifically black and red striped.
Multi-striped
compression
socks. Because I was like, ooh, where do I get some of those?
Right.
Shopdisney.com.
Yeah, I
We'll have the Electric Mayhem logo right on it.
I'll admit that I don't think I'm a huge Penny fan. For some reason, her look I just had a hard time connecting with the look of that puppet. That Muppet, sorry. And the only time I really, really, really enjoyed her was when they did the satire of Get Back, and they put her in the Yoko role. I died. I died many times over, and of laughter, because that was, especially when she started howling. I was like, "You got to be kidding me! This is so funny."
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Oh,
there.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. I was like, you know what? I think the first 6 episodes were just leading up to this, so they could do this. Because it was so well
that's
done.
what the entire series was for, was to do that.
Yeah. I think they started there. I said we'd like to do a parody of Get Back, but how do we build around that? And then that's why the show got made. So I think I would not be surprised, actually, because I did think that was the highlight. That was the peak of the series for me. Yeah. The human characters, to be honest with you, none of them really like wowed me. They fit the role fine. They're the straight men. They have to just, do what they do. But I didn't feel like they had Moog, maybe, and like I said, maybe the sister a little bit. But to me, their personalities were so subdued. And even though they used diverse casting, I felt like they were whitewashed a lot, because I didn't feel like they were, representative of that diversity, really deep. But then that's Disney, right? Disney does that a lot. So I can't say they were the reason. They're not the reason that I watched this show at all. They weren't the reason. And I won't.
That wasn't the reason to watch the show. You were there to watch
absolutely.
the mayhem.
This is the Muppets Mayhem. This is all about the mayhem. So that said, let's talk more about the puppets now.
Muppets.
Muppets. Yeah, thank you. The Muppet characters. We're going to start with Veronica this time. What did you think of, or was there any storyline with any of the particular band members that really resonated with you?
I really enjoyed the background that we got on Floyd and Dr. Teeth, especially how they related to each other and how they kind of came together and got started and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that, and I really like that he's an actual sergeant. That was
Sergeant Floyd Pepper.
Yeah.
Well, he's an actual sergeant, and Doctor's an actual doctor.
He's a
Right.
dentist.
Yes.
He's a dentist doctor.
I love that.
And I loved the origin of his gold tooth.
Yes, that was fantastic. I am slightly disappointed in relation to Floyd that he supposedly raised Animal.
Why is that?
Because that's not what happened in the Muppet Babies.
I know.
Danny would not leave Animal there.
The Muppet Babies are not Muppet canon, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Muppet Babies were an imagined scene from Muppets Take Manhattan, and therefore the animated series totally not canon.
Right.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and we saw them meet in the Muppet movie.
Charles, what about you? Was there one storyline with one of the characters that resonated with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the same one. I mean, I should have been surprised that Dr. Teet's backstory is that he became a dentist. I don't know why I was surprised by that, but I didn't see it coming. And yeah, there was a 3-episode stretch right there in the middle that I just loved, and I guess that was the middle one of the 3. But yeah, I just love that backstory. I love that they went back to the actual like late 50s to early to mid 60s to tell that story. I thought that worked really well with what we know of them already, and I didn't mind that because you always sort of saw Floyd like leading Animal around in a chain and things like that. So I think that works just fine.
Yeah, I love the fact that the show can sort of have its cake by saying that these characters have been around for 50 years, but they're not 50 years old. They're not like not like senior citizens, right?
Right.
They should be, but they're not, right?
Right. Muppets aren't unless they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And we got to even see those senior citizens at the very end.
We did. Alex, what about you? Was there a particular story? Is the same with you with Floyd and Dr. Teeth?
That was such a big portion of the show, because they really are the heart of the band. They're the ones that are leading the charge, as it were. I truly enjoyed Lips's TED Talk.
Yes.
The entire concept that the entire idea that Lips just knows everyone, and they're all cool with him, and they all understand him, except for anybody who listens to him.
Yes.
Which I just think was wonderful, because again, it's not a character that we've seen developed,
right?
And for us to get a new character from an old character was really cool for me. I genuinely think that Lips may have been my favorite character from this series.
Nice. Yeah, I like the fact that, because I don't know if I'd ever heard him speak before this, and I like the fact that he wasn't just like the puppeteer. And my understanding is the puppeteers are also doing the voices, right? They're not separated.
That's right.
So, but I like the fact that the voice actor who plays him is not just uttering gibberish.
Right.
I mean, at times you can almost understand him, and then you like the next sentence, you're like, I have no idea what he said. And then like there's something he says, and you're like, I got that. Oh, maybe no. And then it's so good the way it's sort of back and forth with like it's really reiterating the fact that he's got a really, really thick accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and occasionally it's like, have I just been listening to him long enough now that I'm starting to understand it? Like, am I becoming fluent?
It's like, is that really that funny? Wow, that was great.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say real quick. And of course, the ultimate irony is that he has no lips.
Yeah. There are occasions when, and I, from my high school days, where you would watch like Japanese animation in Japanese, and they'll go along and they'll go along and they'll go along, and you'll kind of get into that groove where you're like, I don't understand what they're saying, but I kind of get into it. And then they'll say something like Coca-Cola.
Right.
It's like a record skip. And now
Yeah.
you're stuck back to it. And that's exactly what Lips was like. Because Lips, you would go along and you're like, no, okay. Wait, what? So,
And Lips, his personality is new. He had at least
Yeah.
one line. I think it was in the first episode of the 2015 Muppet series on
oh,
ABC.
wow.
But he
Okay.
had a different voice and personality, and that was before Peter Lynch was playing him.
Yeah.
But I loved what they did with him in this show.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? Same thing, or anybody different?
Well, for me, I loved the thing with Floyd and Dr. Teeth. It, cemented their origin and their bond together. And, even them sitting, looking at the stars and started making up the words for, can you picture this?
Yes.
Which was just awesome. But for me, it's always Animal. It had to be Animal, He's just awesome. And I love that he found his true calling as a chef at Benihana. He was the chosen one.
I like that Animal still feels like Animal to me, even though they've way toned him down.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if this was 1982, he'd be chasing Penny.
Yes.
Right.
Or not Penny, but he'd be chasing Nora out of the room. You know?
Absolutely.
But you don't want to do
And
that.
Hannah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
He'd be like Harpo, right? Harpo Marx was
Exactly.
always chasing the women.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly. And that's
Can't do that anymore.
was cool. But yeah, no. And I also like Janice. You gave
Mhm.
more, depth to her. And she has a twin sister for sure. It's pretty awesome.
That scene where she talks about her twin sister blew me away. Like, I did not think that the character of Janice was capable of that kind of like depth and emotion. And yet I was like, that's the first time when I watched the series that I was like, holy crap, this is like working on a whole different level for me.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
not just like funny stuff. It's more like this show has heart to it.
Yeah.
And I really want to know about Janice and her sister.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I really thought that this show really opened up for me. I think that was the second or
Yeah.
third, right? So
I think it was the third one.
Yeah, it was just after Hannah had kicked Nora out.
right. And of course I echo Mike's feeling about Animal. We see baby Animal, right? And
Mhm.
I don't know if Disney's hoping for to repeat the whole Baby Yoda thing.
We've already seen Baby Animal though.
I mean, because we saw Baby Animal a lot, so I couldn't help but think oh, they really want to. I don't know if they're already working on merchandise with Baby Animal, but I would imagine that I would have to buy it all if they did.
Disney's always so behind on the merch. It's like they don't know what they're doing. And then they try and catch up, but then the thing's already passed and people still get excited about it.
I'm just glad the album's out now and not
Yes.
next summer.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Because I was going to say that's kind of the way Disney has been acting about the Muppets all since they've had them, right?
Right.
It seems like it's like they don't know what they have.
Yeah.
And
It's just like when they dropped the Mandalorian and didn't have a Baby Yoda toy for me to run out and buy.
Right.
But
right.
that was done on purpose because they didn't want anybody to know about the Baby Yoda.
Plus, they weren't sure it was going to work.
They
were
really did not think it was going to work. Yeah.
Yeah. They were questioning whether or not that was going to work. But I think in this one, they were like, no, this Baby Animal is going to work. And I don't know if it completely works, but
I did find it very interesting because we brought up the album that it's only available as either a download or in vinyl. You cannot get it in CD, which is
CDs
really
are dead,
interesting.
man.
For now.
But you'll see it on CD eventually. But
Probably.
but it's interesting too. I love how all the different Walmart selling a certain color of it, Amazon selling a different color. It's like,
Of course.
ooh, do I want to get all the different colors?
Yeah, Disney's like ching 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 ching. Yeah, they know how to when they do finally get it, they know how to market the hell out of it. That's true. I'm surprised each one doesn't have bonus tracks depending on where different ones where you buy it, because that always drives me crazy.
Yes.
So the other thing about the show is, and this is something that I guess I have a weird feeling about, is that I love the Muppets, but I am so used to seeing almost all of them from the waist up. When I see them from the waist down, it's weird.
They all got very skinny legs.
It's so strange.
Every last one of them skipped leg day.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kermit was the only one that I'd been used to seeing his legs, because on Sesame Street he'd like sit on a wall or something and his legs would hang out or something. But the rest of them, whenever I see, and that's true of the movies or the like, anytime I see their legs, it just freaks me out. So right away when the show started and they were on stage, I was like, this is weird. Are there any other, I mean, technically this show must be very difficult to pull off. And I'm going to point to the felt nerdy people about this. Like this, I mean, I know any Muppet show is difficult, more difficult than say your average sitcom, right?
Right.
Do you think that this is all practical puppetry, or do you think there's some CG involved? Obviously, some of the effects are like there's the whole dream sequences. They used a lot of different effects for that sort of thing. I'm sorry, not dream sequences. The trips that they take, courtesy of the bad marshmallows. Yeah, I love that. Disney
in the desert.
I love that. But I mean, do you think it's all practical here?
I would say it's all practical, because
it's
at the very least they're doing digital arm rod removal. I'm sure they're digitally removing the stray head and arm that gets into frame. But things like when you see the Electric Mayhem standing there on stage performing, I'm sure they're digitally removing puppeteers and things like that. I don't think that they're doing full digital. I mean, unless it's for specific shots. I wouldn't.
There's a couple of like eye movements that don't look there. I don't remember who it was that we were talking about. Like
that was Mowgli Fraggle on a different show.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Or Mowgli Fraggle. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, okay, so like for example, Dr. Teeth's like glasses that move up and down, that seems
that's
legit
practical. That's
an
iMac.
Floyd's blinking when the rare times he blinks seems like an actual mech and not After Effects. So
Mowgli Fraggle's a good example though, because we were watching the new Fraggle Rock the other day, and Mowgli blinked, and
you're like,
and I was like,
that doesn't.
She doesn't have an iMac to blink. How does she just blink? And it sort of throws you because the design of her eye isn't to have a blink, you know. So they do. That wasn't the Muppet Studios, but they do have the capability now of adding little things like that to bring a little life where they want to. And like so they do digital arm rod removal all the time now, which
although I did catch an arm rod in one of the episodes, we were rewatching it today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't mind arm rods.
No, I don't either. But it was I was like, hey, there's an arm rod. I didn't say it out loud, but I said it in my head because I saw the little metal piece. I was like,
yeah. And I'm sure with the amount of puppets they have on stage at a time or on camera at a time, there's got to be the stray head and things that get into frame that they're digitally removing.
Right.
And that's just part of it. But I'm sure a lot of these puppets are specifically built for the movement. Like we were shooting a music video last year, and the guy decided he wanted to have one of our puppets put a trumpet to his mouth and play it. And I was like, this puppet is not designed to do this. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it on the fly. But I'm sure at the level that they can build specific puppets to do specific movements.
Yeah, well, we're like hot gluing safety pins to a trumpet to try and pin it to the arms.
We don't have Disney money.
Elton nerdy Disney, all the way up here.
Yeah, a little bit.
My animal puppet that's back there actually has Velcro on his hands, so you can put different things on his hands that way.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have rods, so I would, if I really wanted to fully use him. But then Disney wouldn't let me do that anyway. So
right.
Alex, was there anything about the series puppetry wise that you found absolutely amazing or maybe disturbing?
I am with you on the legs thing because it throws me off because it doesn't look right.
Right.
There's a moment in the first episode when they're doing Rock and Roll All Night and part of Every Day.
Of course.
Where we see them basically being crowd served.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but they look paraplegic.
Yes.
I mean, it makes me uncomfortable, and it's a second long. but they do. They look like they're, these are useless limbs.
Well, I think part of it too is their legs have to be so long, because if you look at the way the Muppets are in frame talking to a character,
Yes.
they have to have like 3-foot legs. Like they have to be like 70% leg, to be that tall.
I would hate to see that inseam on those pants.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Animal must be on apple boxes all the time,
right?
Like because he's just so short in quote unquote real life, but he's always like ahead in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of cheating that goes on, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it's weird. You have to really like look to notice a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mike, what about you? Anything about the series puppetry wise that you found amazing?
I just thought a lot of the scenes, there were times when I was watching it and I forgot they were Muppets. And,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that's how well it was done and how well they interacted with the actors and all the different cameos and all the different scenes. And the legs took me out of it a little bit because you're not used to seeing it. And I couldn't see them doing something else. It would have been weird to never show, to show them from the chest up or something like that for all the different scenes, especially when they were playing in concert.
Mm-hmm.
Have them standing behind, like some
A
kind of
wall or something.
a wall or a speaker or something like that. That would would have cut down on the realism. I know, saying a realism in a Muppet show, but it was fun. And no, I thought the puppetry was really well in this one.
Yeah.
And then the puppetry that they had with Penny, was just
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Yeah. I can't imagine how many puppeteers do you think took to work Penny? Because it seemed like that's a big puppet. Like it would take at least 2 or 3 people, maybe more.
Yeah. I mean, at least 2 for the arms. For the arms and the head, but then, like I said, it's a big puppet to move around, but also occasionally she'll have like a leg she'll throw up on the table and that sort of thing. So I would probably think there's a little 3 to 4 people, depending on the shot, working Penny. And Leslie Carrera Rudolph
her toes
is the primary puppeteer on her, and she's great. She plays Abby Cadabby on Sesame Street, and we've actually taken some workshops with her, and she's just a ball of energy. She's phenomenal.
Yes.
So I love to see her playing another Muppet. I love to see that. And I love anytime there's a new Muppet.
Yeah.
Anytime the Muppets have a pretty deep bench already. But
Yeah.
anytime you can
Absolutely.
add a new Muppet in there, it's just fun.
The other thing I was going to say is that, well, I mean, I kind of already hinted at it, but for me, it never ceases to amaze me how much emotion and general like feelings you can get, as kind of Mike hinted at, by watching the Muppets perform. They're funny. They have great comedic timing. They interact with whoever, whether it's human or Muppet next to them. They interact with them very well. You don't even think about it really, that and then to do something like this Janice scene where it actually moves you, or some of the stuff with Gerald Jr., or the mother or whatever. It's just like, you're like, wow, this is quality stuff. And yet they're doing this with inanimate objects, really.
Mm-hmm.
They're animating these objects. And sometimes it has, like you said, sometimes it's one person doing one arm, another person doing another arm, and a third person maybe, or a combination of what, doing like various features in the face or whatever. And it's like, that's amazing how like that can come together to be like one being,
right?
That's captured on film. It still amazes me that that's how that's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like when you watch like Muppets Take Manhattan, and there's these incredibly emotional scenes with Kermit, and you stop and think like, that's a man's hand wrapped in fleece.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. The power of movies, the power of puppets.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're getting ready to wind down a little bit, actually a lot. So I guess, with the way the series ended, and I know we've talked about it, and we probably, we didn't have a spoiler warning at the beginning, but trust me, there are spoilers in this. I'm sorry. But now we're going to get into the ending of it. So if you haven't seen the last episode, then you might want to pause this and then watch it and then come back. But the way it ends, I honestly thought to myself, because I know that there's an album coming out, or an album that's out. So the way it ends, I also thought, are they actually going to put them on tour, like a live, like Mayhem show that would tour
I would
different
so be
cities?
there. I would so be there.
Like
Yeah.
now, yeah. Would you? I was going to ask if you guys would sign up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
Twice.
Right.
I would moog around with him.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Be a mayhead.
That's
Yeah.
a verb now.
so
Yes.
the Mayhem have actually played in San Francisco.
Mm.
They did a show at the Golden Gate Park. They've also played the O2 in London.
Gotcha.
Wow.
As part of the Muppets Live tour. And when they played, because they played like they were like one of the opening acts at this like multi-day festival in San Francisco, and when it hit, the place went nuts.
I bet.
So yes, absolutely would go see them, if just to get the tour T-shirt.
Right?
Right. Yeah, there was almost a touring Mayhem. I think they were animatronic or something, or they were going to be, that got canceled several years ago. But I wouldn't want them to be animatronic necessarily, but I would love if they did a tour or a series of shows with the Mayhem. I'd be all over that.
Yeah.
I also
And
hope they do a continuation of the series, and season
Yeah.
2 is them touring.
Okay. So that's my next question is, because I think, we're all pretty agreeing that we would buy tickets if they went on sale, right? At the
Mhm.
Fox or wherever.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'd see
if
him
there,
at State Farm or the Dome.
if this continues on, not only Mayhem season 2, but also more Muppet series featuring other maybe side characters, as we call them.
Mhm.
What would you like to see? What would you like to see either on season 2 or just in general for a Muppet to get their own spotlight? Veronica, I'm going to start with you.
Oh gosh, of course you're starting with me, because I have no idea what I'm going to say. So my first thought was Walter, but he's already had a movie. But
Right.
I'd like to see how he's fitting in with the Muppets. We saw that a teeny tiny bit in Muppets Most Wanted, but I'd kind of like to see like the behind the scenes of an actual like what's going on with all the Muppets and what's Walter up to type of thing. But I mean, then also Peter Lentz is doing Lips, so I'd rather him tour as Lips. So
do you want to see, and there's a question for everybody when I get around to them, do you want to see more Muppets cameo in Mayhem series? Because we didn't get very many.
I loved it. I thought
I'd
that
say-
was awesome.
Yeah, I'd say sure, but they don't need it. I
Mm-mm.
think
Yeah.
the real focus needs to be on continuing to flesh these characters out
yeah.
and let them be the stars of their own show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Charles, what would you like to see either out of season 2 or just in general going
I think
forward for the Muppets?
I think the obvious choice for a series would be Pigs in Space. I think that would lend itself
wow.
really well
Yes.
to a series, you know? What I would personally love to see would be Statler and Waldorf, like grumpy old Muppets. I would love to see them like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, and flesh those characters out. I don't know that that's going to be the big thing that Disney's going to want to put money into, but I think Pigs in Space would be an obvious. I mean, it's a sci-fi spoof. You know, you
Sure.
can sell that with or without the Muppet connection, and that's what they need is
Yeah.
give people a reason to watch all these shows
Mhm.
instead of doing a Fozzie show and a Gonzo show and a Sweet'em show. I will watch them, but they need more than just me to watch them. And I think Pigs in Space would be a very obvious next move that would be very different from what they've done so far.
Pigs in
But-
Space, the next generation.
Well, they did Deep Dish 9 on Puppets Tonight back in the day, but but then they could do cameos the same way. Instead of music cameos, it'd be like, Patrick Stewart or David Tennant or Mark
Sure.
Hamill, that it's its own genre that they could explore. And that's what they need to do, is just different genres of show.
Oh, that'd be amazing if they had Mark Hamill, because he is already on Pigs in Space.
I know.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That wasn't Mark Hamill though. That was Luke Skywalker.
That's
That's true. That's true. They could do a whole thing with that though. That would be.
They could also really put 3PO and R2 in because they own everything now.
I was going to say, with Disney
They own
owning like,
Everything.
Marvel and Star Wars and showing Doctor Who, they have the rights to like all this stuff. Like they could
Yeah.
really like mine it for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
What about you, Alex?
First of all, if there's a season 2, it's Hannah and Moog getting together.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Nice. You know what?
I'm not down for Nora, Hannah, and Moog.
I felt like they had more chemistry. Actually,
they absolutely did.
Yeah.
Also, simply because we haven't said it yet, but I'd kind of like to see it. We are getting close to the end of the contract for Aerosmith for Rock and Roller Coaster. The ride is 1 minute and 44 seconds. The theme song, Rock On, is 1 minute and 30. I'm just saying.
I'm down for that. Okay, I can handle that. I can handle that.
You can picture that?
I can picture that.
Wow, that would be an outstanding idea. Yeah.
I honestly, the more I think about it, you could do a full Waxtown Records right in the spot at Hollywood Studios. Give the Muppet IP a bigger boost in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell me no one's going to ride the ride?
Yeah, they try and say that no one goes to Muppets 3D, and like there's people pouring out of there every 15 minutes, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's one of the best things in that park.
Right? Well,
it is.
I don't know. Rise of the Resistance ain't bad.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
that goes to show you how long it's been since I've been there.
You're gonna love it. They've got this little section devoted to a space movie. Anyway,
what?
Yeah,
That's crazy talk. Pigs in space.
Yeah.
Mike, what about you? Where do you want to see this series and the Muppets in general going forward?
Well, two things. For second season, which I do want to see. I want to see them on tour and Nora trying to, basically corral them across the world. I think that would be pretty darn awesome. And, I think it would be great. I like the idea of, basically having, Hannah and Moog together. I think it was headed that direction already. So there was more chemistry there. For a new Muppets show, I would love to see a Mythbusters basically with Professor Honeydew.
Yes. Oh, yes. I've heard about that. Yes.
Yes. So, and of course, the lovely Beaker. I think
absolutely.
that would be just amazing having a science show with those two on it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely.
And truthfully, I'm glad we didn't get a lot of the traditional Muppets in this. I was actually shocked when I did see Statler and Waldorf at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was the closest we got to traditional Muppets. And then Floyd mentioning Kermit at the very end.
Right. Well, I love the fact that not Floyd. It was Zoot. I love the fact that Zoot ended every episode like he did on the Muppet Show. He was the last thing you saw in the Muppet Show because he blew the horn. Something different would come out of the saxophone or the horn, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's the same thing, only with photos, which I think was really fun. I like that they keep that tradition. They really dip into the old and new, bring some new stuff elements to it, and it's just really a lot of fun. And I'd like to see more of that. I would love to see them do a tour and have that be the second season, what that looks like. And all the insanity that a tour brings would be crazy. And as far as in general, I love the Muppet Haunted Mansion so much. I would love to see the same creative team tackle more Disney rides. I would like to see Muppet Pirates of the Caribbean or Muppet Jungle Cruise or Muppet Space Mountain or Muppet Tron. I would love to see all that stuff.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I would like to see them do that. So go ahead.
I had a really awesome mashup idea. They could do a documentary of them touring where they're actually touring and actually filming all the backstage stuff of them doing the performances of the tour that people are actually coming to see.
Yes. Yeah. If they could work that in conjunction with the showing the series with actually touring at the same time, that would be amazing. But
different opening acts at every show, so you could have Bowling for Soup sometime, or Weezer, or Ben
and
Folds.
They'd all drop over themselves to get an opening act.
Yeah,
absolutely. people jamming with the band on different stages or whatever. That would be outstanding. All right. Well, I think we've covered the Muppets Mayhem as much as we can, at least in the time allowed. So thanks, everybody, for joining us and talking all about the Muppets. And we're going to be right back, and we're going to close out the show.
Okay, YouTube people, thank you for hanging out and joining us for this episode. My question out to you guys now. We didn't even bring any of these up. Who was your favorite cameo who appeared in the series? I can't believe we didn't touch on that yet. And there's so many. Every episode, it was just like you almost had to have a scorecard on who was, from Weird Al appearing in the Mustafa role to Floyd. And I love how Floyd was giving him crap, says the man who makes up, steals songs from everybody. It was just, awesome. Or Kevin Smith doing the documentary and everything.
Oh, and they
directly at the camera.
There's something about like when a overall, and this is true from back in the original Muppet Show series, when celebrities do cameos, they take the piss out of themselves a lot, and it's really kind of fun that they play off themselves or their reputation, so to speak, or whatever, and they just have fun with it, and that's always really fun to see.
Peter Jackson actually mentioning the Feebles.
Yes.
When he said that, I was like, do they not know this is Disney? Kids are going to want to know what that meant. Most adults are going to want to know what that meant.
No, it was awesome. No, every one of the cameos was awesome. I love the Dead Mouse cameo.
The Dead Mouse thing was so funny. At first I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then they all popped up wearing the Dead Mouse helmets and they're bumping around, they can't see. And I'm like, this is so funny.
Him taking off the helmet and going, this is fresh air.
Yeah.
Why am I wearing this?
Yeah. In Los Angeles.
First of all, in regards to the question as to the best cameo, when it comes to the Muppets, the answer is always Danny Trejo.
Oh God!
I think when it comes to anything,
my house.
I mean, yeah, because let's remember these are Muppets. He served time for murder.
That was awesome. Hey, they painted my house. That was just awesome. That was.
I don't know who the DJ was, but he was the guy who said, "Hey, they painted my house." I don't know who that was, but it was kind of cool seeing, all the different musicians. I thought Kesha really surprised me with how good she was.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that Zed was a real person.
We Googled that.
Yeah. I must admit, a lot of the newer
folks.
musicians and music people just went over my head. I had no idea who a lot of those people were.
I swear to you, I looked at that guy and went, didn't he play Iceman in the X-Men movies? And then I find out, no, he didn't.
It was pretty good, though. I mean, it's pretty good if you can't tell if it's a cameo from a real producer or an actor.
Yeah.
I will say he does heavily favor the Ashmore brothers.
Yeah. And we're very into old-timey things, so a lot of the new references are lost on us, which is not distracting. I mean, I it's not a criticism at all. I think they should have cameos that people younger and hipper than myself would recognize.
You need, if you want, they could have done this two ways. They could have done this show for Muppet fans.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could have done it to create Muppet fans.
Right.
And instead they balanced it by giving us a lot of the fact that there's a baseball diamond reference in episode 2.
Yes.
Is beautiful to me. But still being able to have, Lil Nas X and people, was it Chapman? The country star.
Stapleton? Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton. Thank you. Wasn't even close.
Dr.
I
Teeth,
just watched that.
Dr. Teeth gave him to grow the beard.
Got him to grow the
beard.
Yeah.
And everything. Or Cheech and Chong in the studio for the last how many
years.
There's waiting. Lights in here, man.
You would not get a pizza, man. Yeah, good.
In the 8th or 9th episode where we meet all of the fandoms, that was hilarious.
The Twitter war.
Yes, that was hilarious with the little monsters meeting the, I don't know, there was all of it. And I was like, man, the Swifties, right? I was like, wow, the producers of the show are now running the risk that the band did of angering these fans.
Except that they didn't make any of them look bad.
Yeah.
They made them look devoted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I must say the whole Minecraft thing, I don't know if it really worked for me because I don't play Minecraft. I mean, it looked visually okay, but I thought it went on a little too long. But I like the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of having a big promotional stunt at a big area like that, that's exactly how it would go down.
Sure.
Yes.
That's like a trolling opportunity. I mean, they did what was one company did, like, it was like E Online or somebody like that, did a virtual interview with this woman on Second Life, and everybody showed up and started throwing penises. So not because they didn't like her, just because they could.
Just because they could.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I kept feeling like they were building towards a Ringo or Paul cameo, but that never materialized because they kept referencing the Beatles.
They kind of
more
teased us with that. I'm thinking if there was a season 2, we're probably going to get a Beatle.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you had Paul calling, but Lips, of course, was like, nope, don't need him now.
No,
I did find the Susanna Hoffs cameo fun, especially when Nora's like, I asked for a beetle, not a bangle. I'm like, she's right there.
Yeah. But again, that's
I'm sure
what
she
hasn't
saying. Heard that before.
And that was what he was saying earlier. I mean, when people are doing cameo appearances with the Muppets, they are straight taking the piss out of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was. Who here thinks that Tommy Lee wasn't acting?
Yeah.
Who thinks Tommy Lee is not capable of acting?
Well, no, because I saw him do the new guy, but the fact, I mean, I watched him and I'm like, he thinks that he's actually hung out with the Electric Mayhem. He might have gotten that tattoo legitimately.
I thought it was awesome, and
that was a good time.
If they do season 2, I can't wait to see who appears.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
that'd be even better. So very cool, and I can't wait to see what Kevin Smith comes up with the documentary. So it'd be awesome. So knowing Kevin Smith, it'll take another 5 years to create. So
it's all of them just looking directly at the camera.
Of course,
and we would watch it.
Yeah, I would. At this point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Well, thank you, YouTube folks, for hanging out. We want to hear what your favorite cameo was. So please, please, please write us feedback at ourstation1.com. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. All right. That is going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And let's close it up. So that's going to wrap up another episode of the Our Station 1 podcast. I want to thank our guests for being here. The folks from Felton Nerdy, Veronica and Chuck. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Anything you got to promote? Any appearances or anything?
Yeah, we've got a couple of family-friendly appearances coming up. We'll be at FrankenCon in Knoxville, Tennessee on June 10th. And then if you're in the Atlanta area, we'll be at the Sandy Springs Library on June 17th, the following weekend. And then if you for the other end of what we do, we'll be performing at the Sinful Variety Show, which is a burlesque drag, a very adult performance. That'll be July 23rd.
Something like that.
Whatever's near July 23rd, it's a Saturday night. we'll be there. So we do family friendly shows, and then we do puppet entertainment. That's not family friendly as well. So we'll be doing a little of both coming up, and hopefully doing. Actually, no, we're guaranteed. Not guaranteed, but we're confirmed for at least 2 shows at Dragon Con. working on getting some more lockdowns. So we'll be, at the very least, we'll be back at the Brit Track doing a Doctor Who themed thing for Dragon Con, and we'll be in the late night Puppet Slam, and we've got a fun routine planned for that. And we've got a couple other things that aren't confirmed yet, so we're trying. We're hoping. We like to spread it around at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
Fantastic, guys.
It'll be here before we know
such a
it.
great time. Oh,
Right.
It's 100 days.
It's in 100 days now.
Yep, 100 days.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, that was my little bit of Dragon Con report host coming out.
And Mr. Alex Autrey, hope you're doing well with everything. Anything you want to shout out about, sir?
Doing well, doing well. By the way, it's July 22nd.
Okay. Thank you.
So no problem. I was like, oh, gotta look that up.
He's the guy.
Just, the Legion of Comedy, the Cartersville improv troupe, performing at the Legion Theater. We're doing both Friday and Saturday night shows now, which is cool. I'm looking to be hosting some upcoming episodes, and next season we are going to bring back Talk Nerdy to Me. This will be our third improv show that's all geek centered. And I'm proud to say that the Legion has been asked once again to do improv workshops for the kids at Dragon Con.
That is awesome.
So
congratulations, sir.
thank you.
And he's actually really funny. I'm shocked, but it was really good.
I'm right here.
And Mr. Mike, we made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to shout out about, sir?
Yeah, for those folks who are interested in puppets or animals that are doing crazy things, our good friend Justin Gray, writer Justin Gray, has a new comic, actually a comic that he did a couple years ago. Billy the Kit is returning. So the sun-slinging badass bunny is back for more. So season 2 is available now on Kickstarter. You can sign up, and season 1 was a lot of fun. It's basically a bunny western, old western, and it's a lot of fun. Like I said, Justin Gray does a lot of takes a lot of the western tropes and has a lot of fun with it. So. And it's got some supernatural elements too, but make no mistake, this is not for kids. So, so just be warned, kind of like some of the felt nerdy stuff. Yeah, this is for adults only. So
awesome, dude. Awesome. Yep. Justin does some great stuff. So it's pretty cool things going on there. So definitely check out his Kickstarter. It just started a couple days ago. So you're still on the entry floor. So definitely help him out. All right. My shout out real quick. Judy and I have been watching more TV, of course, and we actually watched this amazing documentary on Apple Plus. It's about Michael J. Fox and his fight with Parkinson's, and it is an amazing movie. And folks, you might know him, you might know his story, but this is, them interacting, and they've done some stunt doubles and stuff like that to make it look like he's going into the different movies and the different scenes and everything that he does. And he's pretty brutally honest about his condition nowadays and how Tracy has, stood with him for all these years and everything. It's pretty amazing. And so definitely, if you get a chance, check it out. It's on Apple Plus. And so,
I think it's called Still.
It is still the Michael J. Fox story. So, and it's pretty cool. Definitely check it out. We watched it. Judy had, tissues up the wazoo because, she was like crying and everything. And it's so brave, all that kind of stuff. So, and me being Mr. Stoic, I was just like, good story. So, so it was a really entertaining, and it's a very thoughtful documentary. And, he's brave, and for what he's doing. And as they said at the very end, he says, the guy looked at him and said, "Are you in pain?" He says, "Every day, but I have to fight through it." So it's pretty amazing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that is going to wrap up the episode. And as always, thanks for listening to the Earth Station 1 podcast. We passed number 700, folks. We are going to make it on to wherever we end up. So it's going to be tons of fun. Always remember, we couldn't do this without you. If you want to support the podcast, check out our Tee-Public store. We have the brand new ESO 700 t-shirt up there. And we also, of course, have the Darren Noel Memorial t-shirt, the Wonder Warrior himself. And every bit we get from the Wonder Warrior t-shirts goes to charity. So help us out there, folks. You can actually check it out. Go to the Earth Station 1 website. I have a link right there on the top for Tee-Public. And I think there's another sale coming out before this episode comes on. So I think you'll be able to get t-shirts for like $16. It's not too bad. So definitely check it out. Also, remember, if you want to listen to the show before the rest of the world, why not join the ESO Network Patreon? For as little as $1 a month, you can also join in with the rest of the crew and everything. It's only $1. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/ESO Network. And you know what? We have some new features coming up very soon for our Patreon folks, and you will be able to participate in that too if you join up. We want to hear from you, of course. Feedback at Earth Station 1 is the best way to do that. But we also are now up on YouTube and wherever other fine podcasts are found. So if you get a chance, subscribe, leave feedback. That's how we find out if you guys are listening or what you guys think of the show. We would really appreciate it. On behalf of myself, Mike Faber, of course, Mr. Mike Gordon, Mr. Alex, and of course, Chuck and Veronica, thank you guys so much for listening. We do appreciate you guys. We will see you soon. Have a good night, folks, and we will see you on the next time. And then just always remember, Nara, 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 Nara. And that's it.
For sure.
Peace. And we're done. For sure.
You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.